In a weird sixth sense, like this loss was bound to happen, and it's kind of getting the monkey off our back. We had like a expectation of like trying to play very perfect, and we were kind of hard on ourselves in practice, which is good for practice to build right habits. But once it comes to performance, you got to switch gears and be more forgiving of mental errors or whatever, because all that matters is you got to be better than the other team. Simple, right?
Everyone, Sage2 here. I'm here with G2's head coach, JoshRT, after their series against Sentinels. So I think it's safe to say not many people were really expecting this result. And then map 1 was really strong, but then map 2 and then especially map 3 really tailored off. So kind of just even fresh off of everything, what were your thoughts just on this entire series? What was the main thing that you were noticing that went wrong?
I think the main thing was our micro in a lot of these moments. Yeah, there's something to be said about our macro and like some of the strats and the game planning and like how we moved around the map. And that can always like improve, but I always tell my players like the difference between a 13-11, 13-10 win or loss to a 13-5 like domination, like the first game, is just a perfect mix of good macro and also good micro. And you can outplay your opponents in the improv scenarios, those scenarios where like it just comes down to team playing coordination and just getting those kills, wiping them out. I think that was lost in map 2 and 3, at least to the level that I wanted to, and that's how Sentinels were able to capitalize. And they also displayed really good micro and macro, and like they showed a new comp on Icebox, a set we already knew about, and they revealed it the previous matchup or against C9, yeah. And yeah, it just came down to some of those moments where we just couldn't coordinate that well. And then finally, like in that like last map 3 comeback, we were like tightening up and like we're starting to coordinate really well. But sometimes, you just do a little fake comeback because it's America's. Honestly, America's is the king of fake comebacks. And I mean, like if we were in the nationals, like we would make that comeback. But like, damn, man, they pulled it through. Sentinels, that is. Despite our like really solid play on defense, and I felt like they were keying into our setups. We made some like missed rotations there, but it's all good. Like the main takeaway is that I talked to them like what's the good?
Yeah.
There's moments where like our micro or macro, everything, our team play was excellent. Let's try to capture that feeling, how we're operating, how we're talking to each other, right? And let's just bring that in tomorrow. And let's just start from the beginning. Like, don't waste time ramping up. Even our split, we lost I think the first few rounds, I believe. And it took a little bit to ramp up our play. And then once we got into it, that was great, So that's my end goal for my team, at least like for this split, making sure like we can get to that level and we can replicate that in the international stage.
Yeah, it seems like already there's a good basis of what was going really well, like kind of how you're making that comeback, which was pretty wild just from a viewer perspective, but then also understanding of in that moment, like in that series, the balance between micro and macro just wasn't there. And it seems like, is it fair to say that when you are going into the preparation and you have a little more time apart from like 15 minutes before an interview, you'll be able to ask those questions more to flesh that out a bit more with the team, like on a Discord call? Like, what's the rest of the night and the preparation look like?
For today or for tonight?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's short turnaround.
Yeah, like normally after a match, I always try to have like the closing remarks for the day, so to close out the day. And after a loss, so far we've experienced it a couple times. Fortunately, we're one of those teams that only experienced like maybe 3 times, EDG, T1 in grand finals, and now Sentinels. Yeah. And painful losses, big lessons every time. There's something that we learn about ourselves each time. And I think I have a responsibility as a head coach to immediately frame it in the right way. Immediately frame it in the way that's like forward moving, momentum generating. As weird as that sounds, like you have to give some kind of lesson. Like, hey, we did a lot of good things. Obviously there's some bad, but let's try to fix it and let's look forward to tomorrow's challenge. And in this format, it's brutal in that aspect. You have to recover quickly, and I don't envy obviously us and then like crew. We're also in the same position to just take on an L and immediately play tomorrow. For a lot of teams, that's going to be really tough. I've always predicted, like whenever I do my own predictions, like anybody that plays off a loss, it's very likely they'll lose the next game, just because it's so hard to. It takes time to process losses, So we'll test that and we'll see how we can do it. Hopefully I just did a good job talking to the boys. They felt like they already looked like they're going through it and processing, but yeah, I just think like we just got to be forward thinking, embrace the challenge tomorrow. That's all it is.
I'm actually genuinely curious about that because I think in most circumstances when, like, say if this were a regular season and maybe when like their emotions aren't as high, it can be really easy to kind of communicate those things to people. As the coach and as hearing your story more of like how you have a really strong emotional quotient in situations where you can tell your players are really taking a loss, very hard, like how do you treat those conversations? Do you kind of primarily focus on 70% positive and then 30% addressing those things, but then knowing that they already know those mistakes? Like how do you go about that so that they don't continue just ruminating on those thoughts when there's such a short time frame before next match?
It's all about saying it's a new challenge. It's about putting the past. We have a term called goldfish, like just immediately discard it, and the only takeaway should be whatever you can take away, and just move to the look to the future. And so to answer your question, I think ruminations, like feeling sad about yourself, that happens when you're not doing anything, and it's honestly sometimes that happens to me. Like if there's nothing to do, it's really tough. But we can flip it and frame it in the right way, in that we have another game tomorrow to redeem ourselves. And then that's our ticket forward. And I think that's easier. I know you were saying like regular seasons seem easier to stomach. I think there's good and bad. For a regular season game, you lose and you have 1 week to just like think about it until your next chance to fight. And for some teams, it's just hard when you lose and you don't have another game to just immediately go into. You're just thinking like so much into your mistakes.
I see.
Yeah. But yeah, like we have the benefit of just let's just go next right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in a way it's kind of helpful because it's a shorter time frame of having to possibly just let that sit more, and then you're able to just go, if you win tomorrow, it's like we're back to who we are. Is that kind of what it's like, and you're kind of grateful they have that opportunity again quickly to prove that?
Yeah. And even if we lose tomorrow, like I'll figure out some way, a message to frame the loss in a way that's productive. And that's just the life of a coach, honestly, and especially in a format like this. Like after Masters Bangkok, we had a couple, like 2 weeks to ruminate, but it's like let's make sure we bring that fire and that passion to like let's dominate the league here, and we did, and we took on a loss here. All right, let's dominate the tournament bracket, the playoff bracket. Like we'll just try to find ways to just motivate ourselves.
Just 2 more questions, but this one kind of ties in with all of this. I'm just genuinely curious, as a coach, after losses like this, when do you feel like you kind of came to this realization that this is how we process losses really quickly and this is how we move forward from them? Was that when you're with the guard that it really all kind of came together for you, or was that something you realized even early on when you're, say, with NRG?
I think my experiences told me that like we need to figure out a way to handle losses. When I was a player, I was terrible at handling losses. I think I looked to like real life coaches, like football. So I know Nick Saban has a quote. I don't remember the exact quote, but he was saying like something along the lines like any pain that like a painful loss that a player goes through if you don't frame it the right way, it just becomes traumatic in a way, you know? And that's not what you want to do as a coach, because players are honestly very reactive to things like, oh, we lose, oh, screw the comp. Or like, or oh, we lose, man, this map sucks. Like, dude, like our practice, we were like 80% win rate on this map or comp or strat or something. It just so happens like, you know, there's no 100% win and there's no certainty in this game.
Yeah.
And in a weird sick sense, like this loss was bound to happen, and it's kind of getting the monkey off our back. We had like a expectation of like trying to play very perfect, and we were kind of hard on ourselves in practice, which is good for practice to build right habits. But once it comes to performance, you got to switch gears and be more forgiving of mental errors or whatever, because all that matters is you got to be better than the other team. Simple, right? But yeah, to answer your question, like experience, other coaches. Yeah, I try to draw from other people because they're just smarter than me, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Final question is just giving you the floor to speak. Any final remarks that you want people to know before we close out this interview?
Thanks for the fans to keep supporting us. I know that was a tough loss. Hopefully it was entertaining for the SEN fans. I know it's like, yeah, they had a win in such a close fashion, and I'm happy for them. And I guess like we're bound to lose at some point. It's hard to be undefeated in any competition, any sport, anything, right? And I hope you guys like see us like bounce back here. I can't give any promises, but I think we'll destroy everybody in the lower bracket.
Awesome, Josh. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.